Hello and welcome to the Otaku Network podcast. My name is Steve.
And I'm David.
And we're here today with one of our side quest episodes, where today we'll be delving into the comedic slice of life romance, Skip and Loafer.
Skip and Loafer. This anime was my idea for a side quest because this is the anime that started my whole adventure into wanting to watch more anime and spend time delving into both anime and manga. This anime is about a young girl named Mitsumi and a boy she meets at school named Sosuke. Mitsumi and Sosuke very quickly become friends as they go throughout the first season of Skip and Loafer. And today we're just going to kind of breeze through the general topics and characters that these two meet throughout their adventures in the first season of Skip and Loafer. We first introduced to Mitsu as she's on the phone with her friend Fumi from their home prefecture of Ishikawa. The town that she's from, we're not very much told where. We think that it's made up to kind of save the manga artist's own privacy. The house that Mitsu lives in is stylized off of her grandparents' home. Mitsu gets off the phone with Fumi, both hyping each other up for their first day of high school. And Mitsu then goes with her aunt, Nao-chan, to the subway, who drops her off and, basically warns her, like, this is not the Ishikawa prefecture. This is Tokyo. Are you sure that you are going to be okay going to school today? Mitsu says yes, tells Nao-chan to go do the normal things that Nao-chan does, and lo and behold, she gets lost.
We should probably explain why Mitsu is going to school in Tokyo instead of in Ishikawa.
Mitsu is going to school in Tokyo because of her grand desires to be a political figure in Japan. She does not believe that getting an education in the Ishikawa prefecture will allow her to achieve a level of education that befits somebody that would be a political figure, and thus goes to Tokyo, one of the top schools in Tokyo, to basically... She's trying to basically pave her way to get into Tokyo University so that she can basically revamp her hometown because it is suffering from a depopulation issue due to it being a more rural backwater portion of Japan. Mitsu goes there. This is where she meets Sosuke, and she meets him as she gets lost by accidentally taking the express train instead of the local. And she is freaking out because this completely ruins her plans of being the top student, being the number one student, and being the best of the best at her high school.
It foils her high school debut.
Yeah, exactly. It ruins the initial plan that she had, and she is absolutely devastated and is found by Sosuke, who more or less is contemplating not going to school that day. He's dressed for school, he's in his school uniform, he's got his backpack, but he's debating not going when he sees this poor girl head up against the wall, having basically a panic attack in the middle of the Tokyo subway.
In the middle of rush hour.
Yeah, in the middle of Tokyo's rush hour in the subway system. And he approaches her and basically, hey, I see we have, same school uniforms. And she's just like, my life is over. And he very calmly takes her in. I can get you to school. I know how to get there. Just trust me. And Mitsu realizes she's running super late and hoofs it barefoot to school because she knows she can run faster. And she makes it just in time. Sosuke coming in very quickly behind her and finds out that she is the one that's supposed to be giving the entry day speech.
Yeah, she's the top student.
She is the top student and so she has the honor of giving the welcome speech at their opening ceremony, and she forgets her notes, or realizes she's forgotten her notes, and goes off and gives the whole speech from memory, and it impresses everyone.
Impresses the principal, impresses her homeroom teacher, who was freaking out because she was missing and late.
A lot of the students, too, mumble that they're super impressed that she's memorized this whole speech.
Yeah.
The stress of running late and running and giving this speech all catch up with her, and she earns her first nickname, the Puker. She pukes on her homeroom teacher, and now word is spreading throughout the school like wildfire that she is the Puker. In an attempt to redeem herself, she tries to break the ice by being funny with their school introductions, and comes across not funny. She comes across very serious, very
full of themselves?
Yeah, very full
Weird.
of herself, and gets her second nickname of high school, the Boss.
because she's nervous and she's like, I'm already off to a bad start. And she recalls talking to Nao about it. And Nao suggested, a great way to break the ice is just to make everybody laugh. So she's like, I got to tell a joke. Instead, she does a deadpan delivery, jokingly talking about her plans to dominate Japanese politics.
And earns the nickname The Boss. And so now the boss in the puker has very much thinks that she has put the final nail into the coffin of her high school career.
Yeah, first hour of high school, and her
over.
social career is
over.
Dead.
And that is when Sosuke approaches her and offers his contact information to her. And so she, now invigorated by somebody wanting to actively be her friend after all of this embarrassing stuff that just happened, she very quickly starts to meet several other characters that are introduced throughout the rest of the anime. We get Mika and Yuzuki, two of the more popular girls in Mitsu's class. Both of these girls are they're kind of two sides to the same coin of popularity, where Yuzuki is popular and is very kind and nice about it and wants to be friends with everybody, where Mika is more of the look down on others type popular.
Yuzuki is attractive, composed, naturally outgoing, and magnetic.
Yes. Whereas Mika, who's also attractive, but she
works really hard to present herself as this composed beauty, where she recognizes that Yuzuki does it without any effort,
right,
and kind of despises her for it.
Yuzuki is a very genuinely caring individual. Mika is not afraid to use manipulation and underhanded tactics to get what she wants from other people.
As Mitsumi was stressing out at her desk, and before Sosuke offered her contact information, because Mika is sitting behind Mitsumi in class.
Yes, and then Yuzuki sits in front of Mitsumi.
Yeah, so Mitsumi is like, okay, I can recover. I'll just make friends with the people around me. So she turns around and tries to become friendly with Mika, and Mika just kind of brushes her off.
Blows her off.
Yeah, she's like, you're a bumpkin who's foolish. You will do nothing for my social status. I don't want anything to do with you. But then as soon as Sosuke shows significant amount of interest in Mitsumi, Mika perks up, changes her tune, and decides if she can become friends with Mitsumi, it'll allow her to get closer to Sosuke, who she sees as a trophy.
She is romantically interested in Sosuke.
I don't even know if it's romantically. I think she's
okay, romantically in the sense that she wants to date him to increase her status.
Yes.
I don't know if she genuinely has feelings for him. I definitely think it's more, but we can still call it romantically because it's high school. And so she uses this as an attempt to up her game. And so she befriends, air quotes, Mitsu in an attempt to get closer to Sosuke. Whereas Yuzuki befriends Mitsu because she genuinely likes this girl.
Like immediately.
Yeah,
like
it is friendship.
This is essentially homeroom on the first day of school.
Exactly, and they very quickly do like a friendship at first meeting type deal.
Yes,
and the two girls have a very cute friendship. The next episodes where she meets a few of her other friends. Actually,
So the first day of school, they decide that they're going to do karaoke to kind of. No, it was the first episode.
You're right.
They decide that they're going to do karaoke. There were a couple other boys who were kind of hanging on the outside, and I think there were two other boys that were kind of hanging on.
Kind of watching all this unfold.
Yep. And so this group of them, the group of six of them decide to go to karaoke. This is when Mika's true colors start to come out as she's trying to plant seeds of doubt in Mitsumi's head regarding why Sosuke is being nice to her.
Yeah.
Because she wants to quash any rivalry that may pop up before it develops even further.
Yes, and Yuzuki immediately catches wind of this and basically pulls Mitsu aside and is like, don't trust her.
Yeah.
She's trying to use you to get closer to Shima.
She's not here for you.
She is using you. And then Mitsu excuses herself for a second, and her friend Fumi calls and is like, hey, my first day was great. How was yours? And it at first gives Mitsu a little bit of an internal panic. My first day was terrible, but she ends up lying. She ends up doing like a half-truth where she says it's good, and that's where the lie is. But she does tell Fumi that she makes a fair few friends that day too.
Yes.
Which is true. She meets Shima, she meets Yuzuki, she meets Mika technically,
and the other two guys whose names.
and the other two guys, and she has fun with them, and she enjoys going and doing karaoke, and that she can only talk for a little bit, and she'll call her later that night. Fumi wishes her best friend good luck, and very, very cute, wholesome childhood best friendedness. And she goes back and ends up singing a song from her favorite show.
Yeah, a childhood.
That at first she thinks this. Everyone is like, "What the fuck was that?" And she finds out that everybody actually loved it. And this really cements her friendship with this group of people.
She ends the day, though, thinking that it was a complete failure. And she stresses about if she were to tell Fumi or her family about this, that they would rescind her ability to remain in Tokyo because it would worry them too much.
Yeah. They all go home. They all, part ways. She receives some text messages from Yuzuki and Shima basically saying like, hey, we had a wonderful day today and it's great that we got to know you. And she reassures Fumi that she is enjoying her time in Tokyo at the end of the day.
That she's started off on the right foot.
Yes. We then go in and she starts to up her career in politics by trying to join the student council. And this is where we meet her next friend. So Makoto is this very shy, very reserved, very
she's the
socially awkward, inept at most. Yeah, she's a bookworm. She's very shy, very quiet, very reserved, introverted.
Yeah, not flashy at all.
Not flashy. Detests flashy people.
Her hair's in braids, right?
Correct. Two braids.
Yeah.
And she is standing outside of the student government room trying to work up the nerve to go in when behind her is this very plain Mitsu and the two most beautiful people in the school. And she is immediately turned off by the excessive beauty of Sosuke and Yuzuki. And she tries to pitter-patter off. Mitsu stops her and asks for her contact information. And
no, she doesn't. No.
Oh, no, that's not yet. That's not yet.
She asked her if she's also trying to get into the student council. Makoto is so knocked over by Mitsu's personality that she can't. She's like a trapped rabbit.
Right.
And Mitsu is the hunting dog.
Yes.
And so she bows under Mitsu's pressure and doesn't flee.
Right. The three of them, minus Yuzuki, go into the student council, and they find out that first years can't actually join student council.
Yeah, it's not run like a standard club. You have to be elected into positions, and first years are not eligible for election.
So they join a ancillary group that kind of runs as like a clerical group for the student government. They're tasked with maintaining documents, keeping notes,
helping out with events.
Yeah, helping with events.
It's
shadowing officers so that they have the ability to learn how to become an officer and run for election in the next year. So they go inside, and this is where Mitsu meets her basically mentor, Tokiko Takamine. This girl is currently the treasurer. She's a second year and is currently the treasurer and is waiting for the upcoming elections to try and become president. This girl ends up becoming her mentor based on Mitsu's teacher, who recommends that she shadow her in an attempt to kind of get her schedule.
To become more structured.
Yes,
in her high school
life. Struggles very much with having a structured day and keeping track of everything she needs to do.
Which shocks her homeroom teacher because her homeroom teacher sees her academic prowess and thinks that she does really well, but also recognizes that she should at least support this young girl's attempts to better herself.
And so she then shadows Tokiko, and through mutual shenanigans, they kind of learn from each other in a way that maybe Tokiko doesn't need to have such a strict, regimented schedule all the time. And Mitsu learns that maybe a little bit of structure is important in her life.
Yep.
And writing things down, especially about her schedule, is what she should probably do.
Tokiko, she's incredibly mechanical in the way she builds her life. She runs her life like it's a train timetable, where she has calculated how long it'll take to do specific tasks and sets herself deadlines and timelines throughout her day. Mitsu tries to replicate this and gets overwhelmed just trying to build the structure, and it backfires on her. But the two of them together, they kind of learn from each other's bad habits and how to use that exposure to make themselves more rounded.
I really like when Mitsu finds the lost cat. it's like, we have to find its owner. Tokiko is just like, we don't have time for this.
We're going to miss the
We're
bus.
going to miss the bus. And Mitsu's just like, it's okay. We need to find its owner. They go and return the cat to the owner. And that's kind of when Tokiko realizes maybe Mitsu's right.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't need to be wrapped up in my own little world all the time.
Every once in a while, she needs to just touch grass.
As the series goes on, Mitsu has started to make waves throughout the school. And this has drawn the attention of Narumi Kanachika. Narumi Kanachika is also a second year who's the president of the drama club. And what he does is this very, very showy, very flamboyant character bursts into their room while the girls are all having lunch and is like, I'm looking for Mitsumi. And immediately picks out Yuzuki and thinks that she is Mitsu because a girl of this much, causing this much waves throughout the school, must be this pretty.
Yeah.
And offers her a rose and invites her to come join the drama club. And everybody's, that's not Mitsu.
That's not Mitsu.
That is. And points to Mitsu, and she's like, oh, hi. And he's like, she's so plain.
Yeah, so Mitsu is very, very unique in the way she's drawn, and she's very plain and unstylish.
Yeah.
Like, extremely unstylish. Her strongest attribute is the fact that she has no reservation.
She's a go-getter.
Well, she's outwardly confident. Inside, she struggles with her confidence.
Right.
But she doesn't let it stop her from doing the things that she feels she needs to do.
Right. She's
she
a
tackles
go-getter.
everything head on.
Yeah, she's a go-getter.
Yep.
She goes and accomplishes everything she can to the best of her ability. She is, however, susceptible to other people's perceptions of others.
She's naive when it comes to a lot of personalities, particularly due to her childhood spent in a really small, agricultural community where everybody has known each other their entire lives. So
a great example of this susceptibility to perceptions of others, Shima misses a day of school, and rumors immediately spread that he's purposefully skipping, he's a bad boy, he goes out and drinks and parties and does all this crazy stuff, and this immediately causes Mitsu to panic and worry about Shima and her perception of herself that other people would have of her for spending time with this guy.
Yep.
She does genuinely care about him and doesn't want him to be like that. And we end up spending this episode where she's like getting all these perceptions of Sosuke. And ultimately towards the end, she's like, I don't want you to be like this. I want, I want you to take school more seriously.
Out of all of the classmates, she is by and far the closest connected with Sosuke.
Yes.
Sometimes she cares more about him than she does her own self.
She is very, very invested into her friendship with Sosuke.
Yes.
And it's because she genuinely cares about him. This is before any romantic feelings are suggested at all between the two characters.
Yeah. We say that it's a romance, but
this whole first season,
within the scope of the anime, there's very non-existent romance to it. There's a little bit of sprinkling that happens in the back half of it.
Yes, they begin to start to suggest it toward the back end of the first season, especially towards the festival arc, which we will talk about.
But this is not a series where you go in and the entire plot point is the main characters
are in love,
confessing to each other at the end of the series.
It's very realistic in a way.
It's a coming of age story.
Yes, coming of age. There's a lot of realism in this story, which I'm finding that Steve and I both very much love very realistic stories, especially when it comes to slice of life, coming of age, and romance. There's a big reason as to why Sosuke was skipping school. He's hiding something from everybody at his high school. He has several friends that don't go to his school. There's his friend Chris and his friend Ririka. Chris and Ririka know him since most likely being a very small child. All three of these characters were child actors, and they all know each other and got to know each other through this, like, the sphere of popularity of being a public figure.
When Narumi came in to try to scout
Oh yeah, that's right.
Mitsumi to join the drama club, he immediately deflected his disappointment in her plainness and then locked on to Sosuke. Like, fell at Sosuke's feet begging him to join the drama club. Sosuke adamantly told him no, but something in the back of Narumi's head made him think Sosuke looked familiar. And it was during the period where Sosuke was beginning to skip school that
Narumi finds out that he's a child.
Yeah, he figures it out, but then he tells this information to Mitsumi. Sosuke started his career in a very popular drama where he was one of the side characters, and Narumi grew up watching it with his father and was a huge fan of the show and had them all like taped. And so he figured out that Sosuke was a part of it and let Mitsumi know this. And so this kind of made Mitsumi question why he would be hiding something that's so cool like this.
He did also use this to try and use her as leverage to get him to act again.
Yep,
and to join the drama club.
Because once he learned that Sosuke is this, accomplished child actor, he was reinvigorated to continue to pursue Sosuke to become a member of the club.
Yeah. So all of that influence is really important. And it's in this time frame that we learn kind of what happened. We're given some inklings that there was some drama with Sosuke and Ririka. Now, we're not completely keyed in yet, but there is something that ended their career.
Yeah, there was an incident when they were in middle school,
which we're not told yet. That's in the middle of the festival arc.
So, but it's related to the rumors that Mitsumi was hearing that started to spark the ideas that Sosuke was becoming a delinquent. The rumors of him, being a partier and drinking alcohol when he was in middle school. Anyways, Sosuke comes back to school.
And Mitsu basically gives him the rundown of like, I don't want you to be like this. I want you to be my friend. And she kind of confesses that she really, really likes having him around and likes having him as somebody she can depend on to be a very close friend. And if he's skipping school and all this, he can't do that.
Yep.
And he can't be there for her. And so she kind of like uses her friendship in a way to
guilt him
and show that she cares about him. And that kind of like wakes Shima up.
Well, it kind of backfires a little bit too.
It does backfire a little bit, but it does show him that she does care, and he does realize that she is invested in him.
And he realizes he doesn't want to disappoint her.
Exactly. So it backfires a tiny bit because he's like, don't do that to me. That's not fair. But at the same time, I can see that you're only doing it because you care.
Well, and so he brings up, who are you going to believe, me or rumors you hear from other people about me?
That too. He is offended that she would believe rumors and not just immediately go and talk to him about these problems.
Yeah. Because she let her imagination run wild.
She did. But at the same time, he does know that she's only doing it because she cares.
Yep.
And that's the key kicking off point to them developing basically a best friendship where they now almost completely trust each other. They become very dependent on each other. Not dependent, but they rely on each other.
At this point, Mitsumi is more invested in the relationship than Sosuke is.
That is true. Sosuke does have that thing where he goes to Chris and he's like, what am I gonna do?
Since Sosuke left the entertainment industry, he's pretty much walled himself off from other people around him beyond Chris and Ririka. The relationship with Ririka is significantly more complicated.
It's toxic as fuck.
Chris and Sosuke are essentially best friends.
Yes.
Ririka and Chris are friends as well, but the dynamics of Ririka and Sosuke is one of use and abuse at Ririka's hands.
Yes.
She feels, and this may be partially due to the fallout of the scandal and how it affected her career as well as Sosuke's, that she feels he owes her, but she also needs him as a crutch of stability for herself, because her personality is very headstrong and domineering, but in the way that she reacts to Sosuke as he changes his tolerance of her abuse of him, it does look like it's the whole like strong on the outside, weak on the inside.
She becomes very vulnerable when he starts to fight back.
Yeah, correct.
Very vulnerable.
And I think it feels like she's using her relationship with him to prop up her ego and hide the vulnerability.
Yeah.
A catalyst of Mitsumi and Sosuke's relationship is when they go out to Ueno Zoo for the day.
Yes. Probably one of my favorite episodes.
It's a good episode.
Mitsu starts to hear around about people asking each other out to like the zoo and stuff. And this is when she starts, and she hears that her friend Fumi gets a boyfriend.
Yeah, so this is, as we're getting close to summer vacation.
Yeah, this is like mid-season.
Yep. Mid first trimester.
Yes. It's getting close to summer, and she finds out that her best friend from home, Fumi,
Has a boy that she likes.
Has a boy she likes and has been asked out. She is thinking about saying yes because she thinks he's cute, and this is what brings up the whole love at first sight conversation between Mitsu and Fumi.
And up until this point, Mitsu has not gone through her life thinking about romance.
Correct. But after hearing this, she starts to become interested in the idea of romance. She doesn't know who yet. She does know that she's very close to Sosuke.
She doesn't know
if she likes him or not.
Or if it's a romantic
But
thing.
she starts to hear around school about people asking people out about going to the zoo and seeing the pandas. And suddenly Sosuke asks her if she wants to go to the zoo.
Yep.
And she immediately is like, is this a date? Oh my God, is this a date? And she starts to like care about her appearance, even going to the extent of asking her aunt, Nao-chan, for help.
Yeah, Nao is
stylist. Anyway.
She comes to Nao, who is very stylish.
Yes, very
well dressed, very like presents herself in the best possible way she can.
Top of Tokyo fashion.
Yep.
The whole 9 yards.
Comes to her for help because she's a country bumpkin who doesn't know the first thing about coordinating an outfit.
And this now tips Nao off that Mitsu might be interested in a boy.
Well, it's even just the fact that because Mitsu isn't hiding anything, she says, it's my friend, Shima-kun from school. And then Nao's like, is Shima a boy?
Yeah. And so Nao helps Mitsu, picks out...
not be a fashion disaster.
Helps hair, makeup, and outfit.
Yeah, something like that.
And so Mitsu looks very cute for her day with Shima at the zoo. The two of them go on a date, but before this date happens, Mika hears that they're going to go to the zoo together.
Yep.
And Mika ends up going to the zoo that day as well to stalk them, to make sure that they're not trying to date, and so that Mitsu isn't encroaching on her territory.
Yeah, because at this point, Mika is still using her relationship with Mitsu to be close to Sosuke. Mika doesn't necessarily have any concern or cares for Mitsu.
And so the two of them go to the zoo. They're enjoying their day with Mika close behind them, if you will. But she then runs into a man in a hat and sunglasses.
Yep.
And it seems that this man is also following Shima and Mitsu. It turns out that this man, who claims they're a man, claims that they're Mitsu's uncle, but it turns out later on that this is actually Nao-chan.
Yeah.
And this is when we find out and confirm fully that Nao-chan is actually transgendered.
Oh, I don't think there was any ever question of that from the first episode.
Right, but this is the first acknowledgement of Nao's transgender.
Yes, correct.
But we find out and are confirmed that Nao-chan is transgender.
Yep.
And was male growing up and is now female.
Nao-chan is Mitsu's father's sibling.
To disguise themselves, Nao was presenting as male so that Mitsu didn't recognize Nao-chan.
And so she could keep an eye on Mitsu.
And to keep an eye on this date to make sure that Mitsu and Shima didn't do any shenanigans.
She was Nao was more concerned that Mitsu was going to be taken advantage of by a slick and stylish Tokyo lad.
But this is when a really important development begins to happen where Mika and Nao-chan have a connection.
Yeah, they kind of do a little bit of a bond over their
stalkernish.
Their stalker, yeah.
And this is where we start to delve into Nao's self-consciousness of being transgendered in Tokyo.
Well, I don't think it's self-conscious. I would take pragmatic
their
view on their struggles they have to deal with, even in metropolitan Tokyo.
So I do think that there is a little bit of a self-consciousness thing, especially because there are scenes where you get that, like, the girls are whispering, like, look at that. Is that a man or a woman?
I don't know. I mean, now
does really good job of portraying this, like, I don't care about anything. Not anything, but, like, I don't care about what other people think about me. But I know definitely later.
Now exudes a lot of confidence.
Yes, now exudes a lot of confidence. I think that's where Mitsu gets her confidence from.
Maybe.
Because she really looks up to her aunt.
Yes. Oh, very much so.
So much so. Even when they were presenting as her uncle, she respected and loved.
I think aside from her grandmother, now is the most important member of her family.
Yes, yes. Now and her grandmother are the two most important people in Mitsu's life.
Yep.
And that's why it was...
To be fair, though, Mitsu loves everybody.
Right. But you can definitely tell the much deeper respect she has for both of these two individuals in her life.
Yep.
Besides her parents, who she does have a lot of respect for. But
sure.
Those two are her most respected outside of her immediate family.
Yes.
And so now and Mika kind of share this like bonding moment about what it's like to have external differences, or kind of talking about each other's struggles with how they present themselves.
Mika had a earlier childhood where she was unpopular and not fashionable. She was overweight. She was kind of picked on. She's put a lot of energy into rebranding herself into something fashionable, and now picks up on this immediately, being a scion of fashion, and recognizes instantly the amount of effort and work that Mika puts into making herself presentable for the public.
And that's how they form this bond, which this bond becomes important when all four of the girls, Mitsu,
so that's Mitsu, Yuzuki, Mika, and Makoto.
They all have a sleepover at Mitsu's house.
Before the sleepover, there was a lot of tension between Yuzuki and Makoto because of Makoto's outward disdain for people that are popular. And Yuzuki picks up on this pretty quickly and tries to bridge that divide because she truly wants to be friends with Makoto.
Yeah.
And it works eventually, but it takes a lot of effort, and Makoto becomes more comfortable around the rest of the friend group than she was in the beginning, where she was afraid of popular people. She still has her reservations for people that are naturally beautiful and outgoing, but she is now, through overcoming her baseless hatred of Yuzuki, she's become more open to not judging people at face value anymore. And so they've developed a really strong friendship.
And it develops into this super strong friendship that really cements at least three of the four girls into this very tight-knit friendship that it doesn't seem like there's been a wedge anywhere in that friendship.
No, at this point, the only thing that's odd is Mika, because Mika's still only there for personal reasons.
Correct. But we then get to this sleepover where the four girls all go to Mitsu's house, and Nao-chan will excuse themselves from the sleepover for that night, but make sure to cook them dinner and make sure that they're all comfortable before she leaves.
No, they cook dinner themselves, but Nao sets them up. They make curry.
Yeah, Nao's there to make sure the house doesn't burn down and that they're good before she leaves to stay with a friend. Yeah.
Now recognizes that it would not necessarily be appropriate for them to remain within the apartment overnight with the four girls doing the sleepover.
Correct.
And also stresses to Mitsu to let them know that they are physically male still.
Yes. Which, very respectful, very nice of Nao to do that.
Nao is 100% pragmatic.
Which makes me just love Nao-chan so much.
She's the best character in the whole show.
Literally one of the best characters.
Absolutely.
And as Nao is excusing herself, Mika makes the excuse that she has to leave because her parents had a dinner.
Yeah, they're doing a family dinner.
And because she doesn't want to stay. She feels left out. She feels excluded.
Yep.
Mostly through her own doing.
Yeah.
But she's uncomfortable and wants to leave. As she's leaving, Nao-chan is also leaving and is like, I remember you from the zoo. Let's talk about this before you make a mistake and just leave.
Yeah, once again, Nao sees it directly through
the
young girl's
right through this young girl's
plans.
Perceived. Yeah. Nao is just a fucking psychic, and I love it.
Well, I mean, okay, so you have to compare it with somebody who has been around for a long time and has experienced a lot of things, and can recognize the trials that youth go through in their development as adults.
Right. And somebody that has themselves experienced self-doubt.
Yeah.
Because Nao has experienced self-doubt. We don't get this in the anime.
In the manga, we start to see some more background information from Nao's childhood. And
especially when Nao starts to realize that they might be transgender.
Yeah, and starts to become a little bit more open about it with their family.
Yes. That's why I'm saying there's that similarity of self-doubt between the two. is because of Nao's earlier, or probably around the girl's age.
Yeah, it would probably be. I would say it was in high school.
When
she now has the shared experience of conflict of outward appearance and self-image that Mika has. Mika has it due to having a childhood where they were overweight and unpopular.
Yeah.
Now because of, being transgender and growing up in rural Japan.
Yes. And so they have these similarities, but also their differences. And Nao offers this sage advice to Mika, basically like, if you leave, you're going to regret it. You should say that your plans got canceled and that you're going to stay the night with the girls.
Yeah. Like you still have a chance to reverse course.
Yes. You have a chance to backpedal and actually form genuine friendships with these girls.
Yep.
Mika takes Nao's advice and goes back to the party saying, hey, I was
wrong.
It was wrong.
It was a different day.
Yeah. I think she said that they canceled and that I don't need to go anymore.
Yeah.
And she ends up spending the night and they all have fun as these four now starting to become close, tight-knit group of friends.
Yep. Mika starts to realistically enjoy being with Yuzuki, who she saw as unfair competition, and Mitsumi, who she sees as somebody beneath her. I don't think she really has any opinion one way or the other in Makoto. But yes, at this point, Mika starts to actually become a full-fledged member of the friend group. Yeah.
She becomes the fourth.
For the summer vacation, Mitsumi goes back to Ishikawa, reconnects, comes back to her roots, and, finds out that Fumi and the boy are dating and just really recenters herself and realizes that she is exactly where she wants to be in her life. That even though she's in Tokyo with this whole new reality and experience, she has not lost the things she had in her past in her hometown. And it reinvigorates her and sends her running into the fall semester and right into the hectic world that is the cultural festival that they're putting on.
This is when the game kind of really kicks off for the final arc of the series, at least of the anime series. The girls find out that, well, one, Mitsu, being part of the student government, is going to help organize all this.
The auxiliary group and the student council, their primary responsibility during the student festival is the administration of everything, which is a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. And Mitsu becomes so embroiled in doing this that her friendships suffer a little bit.
The greater impact of Mitsu being overwhelmed with her duties in this auxiliary group come in her relationship with the rest of the classroom. So the class decides that they're going to put on a musical. They're going to essentially do The Sound of Music, and they wrangle
Sosuke.
They wrangle Sosuke to become part of it, even though he's very resistant to returning to acting.
Yes.
He realizes that, he doesn't want to disappoint his class, so he agrees to go on with it. So the class goes into full gear mode of getting set up for the festival because there's a lot of work making the sets and the costumes and rehearsing and everything.
And they ask Mitsu to review the script.
Mitsu is so preoccupied with the duties of this auxiliary group that she's part of that she feels guilty for not being able to participate in what her class is doing for their performance.
Right.
Mitsu is struggling with that she has not been able to spend a lot of time with Sosuke right now either because of how busy both of them are.
Yeah.
So she feels obligated to offer help with some sort of task for the class. One of the girls jumps at the suggestion and says, hey, we need to cut some time out of this. Can you review the script and let us know? Mitsu is overwhelmed with all of her responsibilities and is unable to do this.
She ends up falling asleep as she's watching.
Correct. It causes temporary friction between her and these girls that are her classmates. And this is when Sosuke comes to her and they finally connect for the first time in what feels like forever in a meaningful way as friends.
And this is after he overheard some of the girls talking about Mitsu in a negative way. And he kind of confronts them a little bit.
Yeah, he kind of calls them out about, why are you being like this?
Yeah, why are you being shitty?
Yeah. But then he lets, Mitsu know, like, hey, you can't do everything by yourself. Sometimes you just have to say, I'm sorry, I can't help you. And then Mitsu goes and apologizes to the girls and tries to straighten things out.
Yes.
And then continue on with her hectic duties as the class prepares for the performance.
Which, in and of itself, is a whole thing that causes a little bit of drama, not between the group, but with Sosuke, Chris, Ririka, and Sosuke's mother.
Yeah. Sosuke's mother remarried and has a younger child who would be Sosuke's half-brother. And Sosuke's mother was very instrumental in him pursuing acting at a young age. And with the whole scandal fallout of getting caught getting drunk at a karaoke event, that pretty much ended his career. He's started to really distance himself from his mom and her new family, feeling that he's not a part of it.
We end up getting to the days of the festival.
And the performance of
the
show.
Performance of the show. Yuzuki has done some artwork where she has painted her puppy.
Yeah, we find
or
out
not her puppy, but her dog.
We find out that Yuzuki had ended up joining the arts club.
Yep, and then we find out that Mako has joined the English club.
Yep, and Yuzuki is an accomplished artist.
Very good. Like
Yep.
the art that they show in both the manga and the anime.
Yep.
We're very good painting that she does.
So
I think it's an oil canvas painting.
I think so, yeah. And there's a point where Mitsumi goes and visits her at the club room and sees the paintings, and she sees an interaction where boys from a different school come in and are only interested in trying to pick her up instead of paying attention to her artwork.
Yeah.
And it aggravates her, and that's when she starts to talk to Mitsumi and tell her about the terrible experiences she had with her friendships in middle school and how she was with the popular circle, but it deteriorated when there was a lot of jealousy between everybody, specifically related to her, and how people perceive her as using her looks and her personality for her own gain, when she's like, this is just how I am. I'm not interested in stealing your boys from you. I just want to go through life and enjoy myself.
Right.
She loves it.
She shows the struggles of pretty privilege.
Yep. And it reinforces how meaningful the relationships she has now with the other girls are.
Yes.
Because it's more natural and meaningful interactions.
Yes. And she very much appreciates her, Mitsu and Mako's friendship.
Yep.
Because they are genuine.
Yep.
And even Mika now at this point.
Yeah. Mika started to warm up to everybody.
We start to go through all of this drama with
Ririka.
Sosuke and Ririka.
And Sosuke's mother.
Sosuke's mother. And by extension, Chris as well, because he's there.
Yeah. So Sosuke's mother.
And we get our favorite scene where Mitsu goes and tries to defend.
Sosuke's mother and Sosuke's brother show up, and they get separated. I think they get separated when Ririka and Chris run into Sosuke's mother.
No, before that, she sets him down and she goes to go get food from a stand.
Oh, that's right. And he just wanders off. And his brother is
and he knows where Sosuke's classroom is. So he goes there.
Yeah, his brother is super confident and just like strides his way. Doesn't care that he's lost and just strides his way. He's like, I know where my brother is, so I'm just going to ask everybody to help me get them.
Yeah.
So Sosuke's mother is frantic trying to find her, her young son, and
who's like 4 or 5.
Yeah, he
might be 3 or 4.
He probably is not in kindergarten yet.
Yeah, he's probably like 3 or 4.
So he gets to the room first, and he confidently tells everybody who he is, and they're like, oh, it's Sosuke's brother. We didn't know Sosuke had a brother. And so everybody tries to find Sosuke.
And all the girls fawn over him because
oh my God,
he's so cute.
Well, everybody fawned over him. They're
right,
like...
everybody's fawning over him.
Yeah, they're like, do you need something to drink?
Brother. He's so cute.
Once he knows he's safe, then he breaks down and starts crying.
Once Sosuke shows up.
That's right.
Once
Sosuke shows up. That's when his little brother breaks down and starts crying.
But they dispatch Mitsu to go try to find his mom.
Oh, yeah, that's right. His mom.
Because they know where Sosuke is. They don't know where Sosuke's mother is. Because
once Sosuke comes back.
Yeah, Sosuke is in the middle of a performance when they find his brother.
No, he's not. No,
he wasn't. He was at Narumi's performance.
Yes, he was watching.
Because he wasn't there at first.
His one-man show.
Everyone else in the class finds him.
Correct. And they don't know where Sosuke is, and they're trying to find him.
Sosuke is at Narumi's.
Yes.
Mitsu gets dispatched to go find Sosuke's mother.
Yes.
Because they know she's probably at the office or whatever.
Looking for the young.
Trying to find him. Yep. That's where they would assume that she would go to try to find him.
To get an announcement over the system. Yeah.
The others go try to find Sosuke at Narumi's performance. And like this whole shenanigans ensues where Mitsu finds Sosuke's mom and then runs into Ririka with Sosuke's mom.
And Ririka dragged Chris along.
And dragged Chris along. And then there's this whole like aggressive interaction between Ririka and Sosuke's mom.
Well, Sosuke's mom is very polite and reserved, and she essentially just stands there as Ririka assaults her verbally, accusing her of things that may or may not be true in relation to Sosuke and his, his past.
And then we end up getting it where Sosuke finds his brother first.
Yeah, he comes back to the classroom.
His brother realizes that the younger brother realizes that his older brother's here.
Yep.
And breaks down and starts crying.
And up until this point, Sosuke felt that he was just a stranger to him.
Yeah.
And this kind of breaks the ice and lets him know, no,
my brother loves
this little boy cares about you.
And actually, it seems he gets the realization that his brother looks up to him.
Absolutely, yep.
And he now creates this very close brotherly connection with his younger brother.
Well, he starts to warm up and realize I really should probably try to do better for him.
He creates this really warm brotherly connection when his little brother starts to cry and is crying happiness when he sees his brother.
Yes.
And this really warms up Sosuke's heart to the fact that this half brother does look up to him and does care about him, even though they're years apart.
Yes.
And this is when now
everybody else shows up.
The rest of the crew shows up, and Ririka now starts kind of attacking Sosuke and his mom again. And this is when we get our favorite scene where Mitsu T-poses in between them, and Sosuke imagines her as this red panda that's defending its brood or something.
So earlier, as they were trying to occupy Sosuke's brother, they were reading him a book about animals that a different class had made.
Yeah.
And they talk about the red pandas and how it stretches itself up to try to, ward off
to make
danger.
itself look bigger.
Yeah.
And then when Ririka is
laying
for lack of better words, being a bitch.
Oh yeah.
Mitsu pulls off a very similar pose.
Yep, she does the same thing.
And Shima's just like, oh my god, she's like a red panda. And it's probably one of my favorite scenes in both the manga and the anime.
It's really good.
And this then kind of leads to Ririka being to Sasuke's mother, you don't need to be here.
Yeah, you can leave now.
Which causes his mother to unfortunately leave and not watch
her son's performance.
Yeah, her son's performance. And
so at this point, something clicks in Sosuke, and he pretty much tells Ririka that he doesn't want anything to do with her anymore.
Yeah, he specifically says, I don't need to feel guilty for you anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't need you, and I'm done with you.
Yeah, he's like, I'm comfortable with who I am and what I've become.
Yeah. And he's like, I don't need you to make me feel guilty anymore.
Yeah.
And he basically just tells her goodbye, and she grabs Chris and storms out of the school.
Yep.
Because she's realized that she has lost.
Correct.
She can no longer control Sosuke, and she goes off and has her own little bawling blunder in the car.
She breaks down to Chris about where she went wrong and what she did wrong.
And
Chris consoles her the best he can.
She bawls her eyes out in the car.
Yep.
And Sosuke then goes and does his last performance for the festival.
Yep.
Kind of freezes a little bit when he's kind of like, what do I need to do?
Yeah, what should I do moving forward? Because I've spent so many years not doing anything.
Yeah, and being under the thumb of Ririka.
Well, and just locking myself off from everybody around me aside for Chris and Ririka.
Yeah, and he kind of accepts that he's going to start growing.
Yep.
He's going to take this opportunity now to develop a new him, to kind of reinvigorate his interest in being a person.
Yeah.
And basically this kind of finishes off the anime where him and Mitsu kind of meet at the very end, and something starts to stir in both of them.
It really stirs in Sosuke.
Yeah, very much in Sosuke.
It's very evident in Sosuke.
Where he thinks he might be not in love, but has feelings for her.
He realizes that Mitsu means a lot to him, and he cares about her in a really deep and meaningful way. But he's not sure what to do with it.
Yes.
So the last scene of the anime is she congratulates him on his performance, but she has to go rush off to do some more stuff
to finish cleaning
for her responsibility. And he asks her if she needs any help, and she smiles and tells him, no, don't worry about it, I've got this. And that's when it kind of clicks in him, and he's like, wait a minute,
Oh God.
And then
the feels.
Yeah. And prior to this, after the whole development, especially the culmination in the summer with Fumi and, boyfriend and being in love, she's been thinking about it more and more. What does Sosuke mean to her? And is it something that could develop into romance? But then she got distracted a lot by the school festival.
It does help a lot that they had that scene where they danced with each other.
Yes.
Where Sasuke was doing basically the rip-off of going on 17 from Sound of Music.
In the point where Mitsu had failed to help the class with reviewing the script, he was consoling her by beginning to recite a romantic dance scene that his character does. And he wrangles her into being the female character that that his character is trying to woo. And it's a really, I forgot about that. That was a really touching moment with them.
It was very cute.
Ad hoc performing and dancing together.
It does make sense, characterization wise, as to why he would do that, because of the interactions with his mom. I didn't think about it
later
just
on,
now,
yeah,
where she would have him recite the lines to cheer her up.
Yeah, true. You're right.
I just made that connection. Right. He was doing that because that's how he knows how to cheer people up.
There are certain aspects of the show that remind me of my favorite romance anime, Isn't Her Circumstance, also known as Kare Kano. And one of the things that really runs parallel with Kare Kano is there is a whole school festival arc where the main female lead and the main male lead, who are at this point are dating, are unable to spend any time with each other because of how busy they are with the school festival and how they're internally struggling with them not being able to spend any time together. Right. The points where Mitsumi is rolling through that of like, I haven't been able to spend any time with Shima, reminded me 100% of that whole arc within Kare Kano.
I mean, that's why you watched this anime, is because of its similarities.
The first episode in some ways reminded me of Kare Kano with how...
Before you dig into that, contrary to what you guys might be thinking at this point, Steve did not introduce this anime to me.
No.
I introduced it to Steve.
Yep.
A little bit of backstory on this. This is the first anime outside of like what was on Toonami, and even then I didn't watch a ton of that growing up. My very dear friend, she wanted to introduce me into the world of anime, and she had seen that this was coming out, and she decided that this would be a good introduction into anime for me. And so her and I watched it together. I immediately fell in love with it. I had watched probably the first 4 episodes with my friend, and Steve and I have known each other for years prior to this, probably 4 or 5 years before.
Yeah, about that.
I went to Steve knowing that he likes anime and kind of bragging about how I've started to watch anime, and said, hey, you should watch this too. Let's watch it together. And I showed him the first episode.
Yep.
And the second episode we watched the first 2 episodes together.
Did we? Okay. I thought we just watched the first one. And I was tepid at first. I'm like, oh, okay, I've seen this story a million times before. It's okay.
Yeah. And so then, Steve, you watched everything up to the point and you kind of fell in love.
Yeah, so then, a couple days later, I rewatched the first episode, and then it's like, okay, this is pretty good, and then watched like the next 4 or 5 episodes. It was like, okay, I'm invested in this show.
And you got your child invested in it too, right?
Yeah. My oldest child got invested into it, and then we kind of watched it together. And then when the series ended, I immediately went and bought all the manga because I needed more of the story.
Yeah, and
now I pick up the manga on release date since volume 6, I want to say.
Because through 7 was out by the time we finished.
Was it?
Yes. But he told me that he picked up all the manga. I then went and picked up all the manga.
Yeah.
And since then, now we're again probably after this
we're gonna head to a comic book shop.
Pick
up volume 9. Long story short, we're highly invested in the story.
Yes, this is seriously probably.
It's a story that means a lot to you because it was a impactful introduction to you to the medium that is anime.
Yes, it means a lot for a lot of different reasons. It was introduced to me by somebody that is very close to me. It's my first introduction to this. It will be forever the show that brought me into this and what ultimately even led to this podcast.
Yep. Now you have fallen down into the hole of degeneracy.
Exactly. With one of the cutest animes ever. And I really just love it too because The manga artist is also just a genuinely, from what we can see through her
Twitter account.
her Twitter, her messages in the manga.
Yep.
Genuinely good person. She tries really hard to like express these sometimes very deep, complex situations and kind of talk through them in a sense through her characters. Which, by the way, I highly recommend watching the anime. Highly recommend going and buying all the books and supporting this author so that she can continue to do what she does. Especially because you said in January her grandparents had passed away.
The earthquake that hit Japan in January 1st of 2024, that was in Ishikawa Prefecture. The city that her grandparents lived in was one of the hardest hit cities, and her grandparents' home was destroyed during the earthquake, leading to the death of her grandparents. So since then, she has done a lot of work, donating her own money and doing fundraising efforts to help relieve the victims and survivors of the Noto Peninsula earthquake.
Not only for that reason do I suggest that anybody that listens reads and watches this show.
If you're a fan of realistic slice and life.
I do not think that you will be disappointed by this series, no matter what fan you are.
It's cute, it's endearing, the characters are lovable, believable.
And it's not over the top. It's not that like groaning level of romance.
No,
it's very funny.
The romance is actually very minuscule.
It's very digestible.
There's barely any romance in it at all.
Right. There starts to become more relationship-y stuff in the manga. But even then, it's very digestible.
Correct.
I love it.
The story is not necessarily about the romance.
If you have a romantic bone in your body at all, read and watch this series.
The story is really just a coming-of-age story that has good character development and deals with benign but realistic challenges that youth run into. We're not going to see the really nitty-gritty realistic stories like people dealing with abortion and rape and drug abuse.
Right.
It is very fluffy.
We see kids living their lives. It's
innocuous.
It's kids living a very positive life.
It's realistic and innocuous.
Yes. And I highly recommend this to as many people as I can get to listen to me about this anime.
If you're a fan of Yotsuba, you will enjoy Skip and Loafer because it's that level of cute.
I don't think I have anything else, do you?
No, I think we've covered way more than we probably should have.
Probably. But I hope you all enjoyed this side quest. I know this one did really mean a lot to me, so I'm really glad that we got to do this one as our second side quest. And I hope you all enjoyed. And make sure to subscribe, watch, leave reviews, do whatever you can to support the podcast so that we can keep bringing these to you every week. And I hope you all have a wonderful time until the next side quest and the next episode.
Thanks for listening. Have a good one.